How's everybody doing? We're back again with X on the Beach season 5. Now we're at episode 9. Last episode, we lost three people. Fortunately, Ray had to send Nicole home. Bryce was upset about it. He cried. And then Bryce and Kat end up in some sort of argument, and they end up getting kicked out for breaking the rules. And so 3 people were lost, 2 people were gained. We got Elaine, and Jonathan coming into the house. All right, so let's get started. Who goes to the beach this episode? Can't remember. It's like my memory's getting worse. Or that I'm like checking out. I was just doing a quick workout, as I do when I watch these. So I'm breathing hard. Right. So who's at the beach? We have Ricky, Emily. Let me just show you. Yeah, Ricky, Emily, and Jonathan. All right, at the beach. And just like I said, last episode, the one that shows up is Jonathan's ex. I was right, as usual. Let's see if we can, there we go. Right, so there is Jonathan's ex, Joel. All right. I think it's pronounced Joel. Looks like Jolie, but I believe it's pronounced Joel. And they broke up because Jonathan found a dating app on Joel's phone. And after that, he sort of ghosted him. Right. So they're dealing with that. Joel shows up, Jonathan puts on his acting chops, and he acts excited and happy to see him. But he has a little judgmental look in his face. Joel told his story about what happened. Jonathan didn't really say much about the situation. So Joel just kind of wanted to have closure, because Jonathan just sort of left and didn't really tell him what the problem is, and they didn't really talk about it. All right, which is reasonable. And then we have an issue with Alexis and Ray, where Ray is pretty much avoiding Alexis. He's not really talking to her, and she's just there talking to everybody else about the situation, and he's just talking to everyone else and just having fun, pretty much pulling a Dave on, where she's just like friends with everybody and in everybody else's business, but not dealing with her own issues. All right, so Ray's doing that. Oh, boy. So Mike is once again complaining about Eris not opening up to him. Same old. It's like they're going through this whole cycle of nonsense. Devon still flirting with a lion. All right, just doing that. Right, so the people went to the beach, come back to the villa. They all kind of told their story. Jonathan is doing the same thing, where he just smiles and friendly, but he's not talking about what's going on. I don't like, it's a weird thing that he keeps doing. He's very private about his situation, and just, he doesn't give away anything, but he's just constantly putting on a positive sort of persona about him. Then we have Emily, who's very upset with Kira for ignoring her. So she decided to get all dressed up and go and confront Kira about the situation. So she takes Kira aside to go confront her. Kira pretty much lets her know that they're, she's not really feeling it or whatever. And Emily says she feels disrespected, but what she's really feeling is rejection, and she doesn't take it well. She starts yelling, and Kiera is just trying to get her to calm down so they can talk, and then Emily's all fiery, and then the communication doesn't really go anywhere. And yeah, so eventually Kiera just yells and then storms off. I mean, Emily yells and storms off. Right, so that happens. Right, and then Nicole, the Nicole that's left in the house, decided to take Elias aside, Elaine aside, and Elias is still in the house though. He's just not doing anything. But Nicole decided to take Elaine aside, and she did body shots off of him, and he did body shots off of her, and of course Devon didn't like that, so they did that. Ray, Alexis decided to make ice cream for Ray, and they had a little talk with this ice cream date, and it pretty much didn't go anywhere because Ray was just being very political. It's just like, oh, we got to be on the same page and all this, and she was just kind of deflecting and not really addressing any of the things he was saying. So it was a weird thing. I don't know what the hell. It was like two people talking, but they're not really talking to each other. It was weird. All right. So they did that for a while. Then who's this? All right. Devon decided to get dressed up so she can get Alline's attention, and it worked, and they talked and blah. Get back to the house. And there's this moment right here where Emily, who you can't see off to the side, is drowning her feelings in nachos, and she says to Mike, she's gonna come live with him after the show, and he said that's fine, but I don't know how that's gonna work because I'm gonna be bringing people over, and of course Eris gets upset about it. And and then Mike proceeds to gaslight. Took her aside, starts yelling, starts saying, I'm the prize and you should come after me, and on all this stuff. And yeah, it's the thing with Mike and Eris is that Mike is a problem. Yes, he's a kind of a narcissist. He's all into himself, and he's kind of a liar. He's showing mixed signal. He's saying he wants to be monogamous, and he's doing all this other extra stuff with other people, and he's talking about being with other people, and he's been a cheater in the past, and all this stuff, and he's just like, he's showing different sides of himself, and it's almost like when his act doesn't work, he just sort of breaks down. But Eris is also a problem because Eris doesn't express what's going on with her. Doesn't want to be vulnerable to the point that just keeps things to herself, and is sort of validated when someone else is wrong, so that she never really has to address her own things. So I see how the dynamic between her and Mike work, because Mike is so fucked up, she never really has to address herself. And because even before Mike showed up, they were exes. She broke up with him. She left him, and then as soon as he shows back up, all of a sudden they're all together, even though she was the one that never wanted to be a monogamous relationship with him in the first place. Now he has to prove to her that he's going to be monogamous. Like, what? How did that flip happen? He was supposed to be the one convincing you to be monogamous with him, not him being monogamous with you. There's a two-sided sort of dragon here that we're not dealing with. All right, so Mike blows up, starts yelling. He had to kind of sleep on the couch because he was again yelling so much. The next morning, he goes on an apology tour and apologizes to everyone in the house. Every single person except Eris. Right. So then there was a game where a bunch of the house guests get separated. Some of them became jurors, and Devon was the judge. The ones being judged are, let's hold on. Let me see if I can get an image of them. Okay, hold on. Oh, damn it, it's just right there. All right. So the ones being judged are the current couples that are in crisis. We have here, we have Eris and Mike, and we have Ray and Alexis, and we have Jonathan and Joel. They're the ones in crisis, and they're the ones being judged. They pretty much have to go up on the stand and speak their grievance with each other, and the jurors pretty much decides who's at fault. All right. So the first up was, I believe, was Jonathan and Joel. All right. They spoke their piece, and Joel explains that he had the dating app, but he wasn't really using it. And Jonathan explains that he was pretty much, after he's seen the dating app, he was pretty much already checked out of the relationship. And after seeing that, he just kind of left it. And Joel was like, how are you checked out, even though I was meeting your family and all this stuff? And then all of a sudden now you're checked out, and we didn't even communicate and all of that stuff. So I believe the jurors stated that it was bad communication. They said Jonathan is guilty. Can't really read it, but they did say it. It's right there. Jonathan is guilty of lack of communication and sympathy. Let's see. So in that one, he was judged to be the one in the wrong. And I would agree. He's just sort of like he's an actor. He's just not being himself. He just constantly have a smile on his face and just acting like nothing is happening, and the things that have to do with his life is not really his life. He's just a passenger. Is weird. The next ones up was Ray and Alexis. Alexis spoke about what happened with Ray going on Love Island, and while they were still together, and he telling her that nothing is going to happen. He goes on the show, has sex with Carol on the show, and then hook up with her, and then come back and broke up with Alexis. So he's pretty much in the wrong. But Ray does classic Ray and starts lying, like he always does. Not only did he start lying, he also started guilt tripping her, and now she's explaining he did this nonsense where he's like, I'm disappointed that you didn't fight for us when I said I was going to go on the show. You didn't tell me no, and all this nonsense where he pretty much kind of gaslighted her a little bit, and now she's on the back foot, and she's explaining that she was afraid if she said that he was going to resent her and all this stuff. And I was just like, what the Ray's a sick bastard, man. Like, seriously, not only did he lie about the fact that he pretty much went on the show and he told her nothing was going to happen, he lied and he did the exact opposite. And he was trying to explain that when he said he wasn't going to do anything, they didn't set boundaries, which he's just complete liar. So the jury voted him as a liar. Once again, Ray is lying. He has problems, man, serious problems. All right, so, but Alexis also needs to be done with this dude. I don't understand what she's doing. Like, he lied to her. He lied to his best friend that he hooked up with, Nicole. He lied to Carol, who was his ex. He lied to every girl that's been on the show. That was there for him. Like, he's a liar. just ended. And the last ones was, of course, Eris and Mike. And it's pretty much Mike being over dramatic and crying, and Eris is crying, and none of them really addressed anything. They just went over dramatic, and Mike was like quoting some sort of movie lines where he was just like, "You're the only one that I can't eat and sleep because you're mad at me." It was cringe and nonsense, and God, it was awful. But the jury voted them as both lacking communication skills, which I would agree for Eris. She lacks communication skills, but not for Mike. I think Mike is just playing a game. He's doing this back and forth sort of thing. I think he just likes the drama. I don't know. Right, so Alexis is crying over Ray instead of just being done with Ray. And Jonathan is back in the house having fun and laughing with everybody else. And Joel is in the bed crying and being pissed off that Jonathan is not coming to him to talk. Then afterwards, Jonathan decided to go in the room and asked Joel if he wants to talk. Joel says no. Jonathan was going to leave. And then Joel was like, "Oh, you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna address this. You're just gonna leave. You're not gonna fight for us." And it was a whole back and forth. But Jonathan was like, "You just told me no," and it was stupid. Is also a perfect example of them lacking communication skills. Jonathan definitely avoided the situation. And then by the time he came in there to try to ask him to talk, Joel was already pissed off from the fact that he was being ignored. But Joel was in his feelings. And instead of just saying, "Let's address it," he said no, and just be freaking ultra dramatic as well. And they're just in the situation where Jonathan feels like he tried to talk, even though he avoided the conversation. He feels like he tried to talk, and Joel feels like he didn't. He avoided the talk until the last moment, but none of them are like saying that to each other. They're just yelling back and forth and being emotional. It was stupid. All right. So, and yeah, and Devon and Alain are pretty much coupled up at this moment. Nicole has pretty much given up on it, and that's happened. So now it's time to go to the beach, as we do in the show. The first person chosen was Alain to go. Oh, hold on. All right. As you can see, the people chosen right here. We got a lion chosen, and Nicole as well, and Eris right there, chosen to go to the beach. Okay, so yeah, till next episode, we're gonna see what happens with them. Oh, for my prediction, whose ex is gonna show up? It's the most dramatic. It's probably going to be a lion's ex that's gonna show up. It would be the most dramatic one because he's just cuddling up with Devon, and plus Nicole was into him. It's a perfect time to interject something into the mix. I don't think Nicole's ex is going to show up, but she's not that exciting anyways. So doing anything with her wouldn't make sense. An ex for Eris would kind of make sense, but I think it's most likely going to be a lion because he just kind of showed up. And even though something kind of went on with him and Devon and the other girls, but still, he still just kind of showed up, and they have to establish his character and bring out some drama and stuff right away to sort of endear the audience to him. So I'm thinking it's going to be him. All right. So that is the end. And I got to finish my workout after this. But till next time.